10 million Canadian dollars cannot write a law, but it can help decide which questions researchers have the time, people, and resources to investigate before lawmakers ever arrive. Anthropic has committed 10 million Canadian dollars to Canadian institutions for research into beneficial and responsible AI applications. That gives us a concrete fact and a harder question. Is this simply support for useful research, or can it also shape how responsible AI is understood beyond the United States? Start with what is actually verified. Anthropic committed the money to Canadian institutions, and the stated purpose is research into beneficial and responsible AI applications. We do not have verified names for the institutions, individual projects, funding conditions, government partners, timelines, or promised outcomes. Those missing details matter. They prevent us from claiming that Anthropic bought a policy, selected a Canadian rule, or secured control over a research agenda. The evidence supports a funding story. It does not support a story about direct policy authorship. That boundary is the key to the whole investigation. Research, funding, and formal policymaking are different mechanisms. A law creates an official requirement. Research support gives people and institutions the capacity to examine questions, test applications, build expertise, and develop ideas. Research can become part of a wider public conversation, and ideas from that conversation may eventually be relevant to policy. But that possibility does not turn a funder into a regulator. Based on the supplied findings, there is no evidence here of lobbying, policy control, or authorship of Canadian AI rules. So why pay attention to the commitment at all? Because research capacity has to be financed. Institutions need resources if they are going to sustain technical work, examine public benefits, or investigate questions of responsibility over time. Funding can affect which projects become possible, which problems receive attention, and which fields of expertise have room to grow. That is an interpretation of how institutional support can matter, not evidence that Anthropic controls the conclusions. Researchers may produce results a sponsor did not expect or prefer. The defensible claim is narrower. Money can expand the menu of work. It does not predetermine what researchers order from that menu. The route Anthropic chose is also revealing. In the supplied finding, this is not described as a product launch, and it is not described as government rulemaking. The commitment runs through Canadian institutions. That places it in the research environment between commercial model competition and formal legislation. This is where technical possibilities can be examined, public interest uses can be tested, and competing definitions of responsibility can receive sustained attention. Any influence suggested by the evidence is indirect. It would operate through opportunity, expertise, institutional continuity, and the questions that can be seriously pursued, not through an official command. Up to this point, the story looks like one company making one focused commitment in one country. But that is only the small-scale version of a much larger international development. China launched an international AI cooperation organization whose founding agreement was signed by 29 countries. Verified examples among those signatories include Russia, Brazil, Indonesia, and Pakistan. Suddenly, the unit of analysis is no longer a research commitment to institutions in Canada. It is an organized, multinational setting for continued engagement around AI. And China's effort did not stop with an agreement. China pledged 5,000 AI training places for developing countries over 5 years. It also pledged intelligent weather warning systems for 30 countries. Those commitments create 3 distinct layers of activity: an organization involving 29 signatories, technical education through 5,000 training places, and public infrastructure offered to 30 countries. The layers should not be blurred together. Organization builds a forum. Training can increase the number of people with AI skills. Weather warning systems place AI-enabled capability inside a concrete public interest application. This is the midpoint turn. The story is not merely about who funds responsible AI research. It is about the different ways AI capacity can be built across borders. Research money can support institutions. Training can develop technical expertise. Cooperation agreements can create recurring international relationships. Infrastructure can put an application into operation. None of those actions is identical to writing a law. Yet each can influence the practical environment in which future AI decisions are made. Now compare the approaches without pretending they are equivalent. Anthropic committed CAD $10 million to Canadian institutions for research into beneficial and responsible AI. China combined a 29-country cooperation organization with thousands of training places and weather warning systems for dozens of countries. Anthropic's move is a focused research investment. China's is a broader package, spanning multilateral organization, skills development, and public infrastructure. The findings do not show that the efforts are coordinated, and they give us no basis for treating their scale as comparable. The comparison is useful for a different reason. Both cases direct attention away from the usual scoreboard of model releases and domestic laws. They ask us to watch the surrounding ecosystem. Who has the resources to conduct research? Who receives technical education? Which international relationships become durable? Where do public interest AI systems get deployed? Those choices may influence which problems are treated as urgent, which applications become familiar, and what responsible deployment comes to mean in practice. That possibility comes with a necessary guardrail. Enabling work is not the same as dictating outcomes. A research sponsor does not automatically control a researcher's conclusion. Providing training does not, by itself, prove political control. Supplying infrastructure does not mean every recipient has joined a unified political project. The verified evidence supports a measured interpretation. Resources affect opportunity. They can make research possible, expand skills, or create operational capability. The institutions, participants, recipients, and eventual results still matter. Countries may also receive genuine benefits from these commitments. Research support can create room to examine useful and responsible applications. Training can expand local expertise. Weather warning systems can provide a public interest capability. Recognizing those potential benefits does not require ignoring the influence that can accompany international funding and capacity building. It requires separating what is verified from what is inferred, and then examining each mechanism on its own terms. So, did Anthropic fund a Canadian AI rulebook? Literally, no such claim is supported by the supplied evidence. What is verified is CAD $10 million for Canadian research into beneficial and responsible AI applications. Rulebook works only as a metaphor for the environment surrounding future decisions. The institutions, ideas, applications, and responsibility questions that can be developed before formal rules appear. China's larger commitments show how expansive that pre-policy environment can become when cooperation, education, and infrastructure are combined. The answer to the opening question is therefore qualified. Anthropic is supporting research whose stated focus is beneficial and responsible AI applications. As an interpretation, that support may help shape which responsible AI questions receive sustained attention outside the United States. But the evidence does not show Anthropic writing Canadian policy, buying a law, dictating research findings, or controlling Canadian institutions. The next time an international AI announcement appears, do not look only for a new law or a new model. Follow the resources. Ask who funds the research, who provides the training, who organizes the relationships, and who supplies the public infrastructure. Then keep those activities in their proper categories. The rulebook before the rules is not a secret document. It is the field of institutions, expertise, and capabilities that determines which AI futures people are equipped to investigate and eventually equipped to build.